Week 11 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I look to sell and trade this week. The first hitter, Vlad Guerrero Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays. So Vlad Guerrero this season, it's been a down year for him, no doubt about it, compared to last season. In terms of power and RBIs on the season, 7 home runs, 30 RBIs, 30 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 292 average, and a 383 on base. But the last couple weeks, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a stolen base, a 255 average, and a 345 on base. So Vlad Guerrero, I know last season, 26 and 94, and it's definitely a possibility he could get back to those numbers once again this season. But I believe the way he's been drafted over the last couple years, that Vlad's just been a basic fantasy player and someone that he gets hot at times, but also very inconsistent. Even though this season the batting average is up in the 280s, 290s all season long. But like I said, Vlad Guerrero, the impact hasn't been there like you would want it. Right now, I know he's slumping a little bit, is Vlad Guerrero, but he's still a hitter I would sell off even if he got hot a little bit. We haven't seen where he's been on total tears for months on end. So right now, he's a sell-high hitter this week. June 7th at the A's, 1 for 4 run. June 8th at the A's, 1 for 4 run. June 9th at the A's, 1 for 5. And June 10th at the Brewers, 0 for 4. So I know Vlad, he had a 4-game hitting streak before last night's ball game, but he's not getting it going. Like I said, the average is down over the last couple weeks, even though 292 on the season. But the power numbers the last couple seasons haven't been that impressive. So if you could get a good starting pitcher or another bat in deal for Guerrero, I would do it this week. The next hitter, Jurickson Profar of the San Diego Padres. So Profar's having a monster season for this Padre team, but another player just going through his track record where I don't think it's going to hold up all year, especially ranked number 12 in category leagues this season. On the year, 10 home runs, 43 RBIs, 38 runs scored, 4 stolen bases, a 325 average, and a 420 on base. And over the last couple weeks, 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a stolen base, 348 average, and a 436 on base. So he's playing out of this world, no doubt about it, this Profar. He's already surpassed his home run amount from last season with 10 this year, and he had 9 last year. And he's only 3 RBI short of matching what he did last season as well, where he had 46 and this year 43. So he's been on a heater all season long, his Profar, but I think it's going to drop off sooner than later. I know he's been a big catalyst in this lineup, batting third for the Padres, but going through his career, I know he was a top prospect many seasons ago with the Rangers, but I just don't see it holding up in the second half of his career. June 7th versus Diamondbacks, 2 for 5, a homer, 4 ribs. June 8th versus Arizona, 0 for 2, 2 runs scored. June 9th versus Arizona, 2 for 4, a homer, and RBI. And June 10th versus Oakland, in that one, 1 for 3. So he's playing great baseball, no doubt about his Jurickson Profar. But like I said, we haven't seen this throughout his career, and I think he's going to fizzle out as the second half comes. So right now, well, he's been hot all season and one of the best players in fantasy baseball. He's definitely a sell-high hitter this week. The next hitter, Nolan Gorman of the St. Louis Cardinals. He's a power hitter, and that's about it. And right now, he's been on a power surge over the last few weeks. On the season, 14 home runs, 32 RBIs, 29 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 223 average, and a 308 on base. But the last couple weeks, like I said, he's been on a power surge, 6 home runs, 11 RBIs, 9 runs scored, a 240 average, and a 296 on base. So he's going to hit his 25-30 home runs, no doubt about it. But the RBI count's been low over the last couple seasons here for Nolan Gorman. The batting average, he's going to be a 225, 240 hitter at best. And the on base, 300, 320 range for Nolan Gorman. So like I said, he's the prototypical power hitter. We'll hit him in spans, and then he'll go a month or two with not doing much. So right now, since he qualifies at second and third as well, which is good versatility, and he's on a heater, is Nolan Gorman. He's a sell-high candidate this week. June 6th versus the Rockies, 1 for 4 run. June 7th versus the Rockies, 1 for 3 in RBI. June 8th versus the Rockies, 0 for 4. And June 9th versus the Rockies, 0 for 4. So already Gorman, he's starting to fizzle out a little bit. After 2 weeks ago, he had 5 home runs in the week, was Gorman. So like I said, he's the prototypical power hitter, where there's going to be weeks he's hot and then weeks he doesn't do much. So right now, well, he's slowing down a little bit. Over the last few games is Gorman. He's a sell-high candidate because I believe the hot streak is over for him, and he'll hit him at times the home runs, but he won't be consistent. And I think you can get more consistency, even if you got to sacrifice some home runs in the deal. Next hitter is Starlin Marte of the New York Mets, of the veteran Marte. It's been an up-and-down season for him. so far this year. But he's going out there, and he's been producing pretty decently on the year. 6 home runs, 26 RBIs, 32 runs scored, 10 stolen bases, a 280 average, and a 329 on base. So Marte, who he's already surpassed his amount of home runs this season already compared to last year. 5 last year, 6 this season, and 26 RBIs this year and 28 last year. So Marte definitely playing better. And this Met team, the 8 games under 500. If they continue to lose a lot of ball games, I definitely could see Starling Marte on a new team at the MLB trade deadline. But over the last couple weeks, he's on fire. No home runs, 7 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 5 runs scored, a 414 average, and a 469 on base. So right now, Marte playing great baseball for this Met team. And this Met team, like I said, they've been playing a little bit better over the last week, winning 5 out of 6 games. But before that, they were losing a lot. And I don't know if this hot streak's going to continue for them. So Marte getting traded to another team towards the deadline is definitely a possibility. June 3rd at the Nats, 3 for 5, 2 runs scored, a stolen base. June 4th at the Nats, 1 for 3, 2 runs, 2 RBIs. June 8th versus Philly in London, 2 for 4 in RBI. So Marte, he's been playing good baseball over the last couple weeks here. Batting average is up there, on base is way up. And Marte, I don't think he's totally a washed player, but I think his power numbers aren't going to be much this season. The stolen bases, I think he could steal anywhere from 25 to 30 on the year, and runs scored will be decent in that category. But the average, I think he's hitting a little bit over his head. And like I said, he's not going to bring much power. So right now, while he's playing great the last couple weeks, especially in average and on base percentage, just that isn't that much of a big thing anymore in fantasy baseball, where you need guys to have 3 or 4 category type of players. I think Marte is a sell high hitter this week, in the 5th and final hitter I look to sell and trade. Heliot Ramos of the San Francisco Giants. So Ramos, one of the hottest hitters in Major League Baseball over the last couple weeks on the season. 6 home runs, 23 RBIs, 13 runs scored, a stolen base, a 314 average, and a 405 on base. And over the last 2 weeks, he's on fire. 4 home runs, 13 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a 372 average, and a 481 on base. So Ramos, the hottest pickup in fantasy, where just early last week, he was only owned in about 10% of leagues. Now owned in 63% of leagues. Here's Ramos. So his numbers keep going up daily for fantasy owners. But we saw with his teammate Luis Matos, where he had a good week and a half span, and then they called him back down to the minor leagues. So right now, while he's on a heater, and I say this a lot in my videos, if you could pick up a player who's just been hot for a couple weeks and flip him for something more consistent, and a guy who's been around and had a track record, this would be the time to do it. Because Ramos, we don't know if he's going to keep it going, especially at this rate, where this is most likely a peak value and the hottest streak he'll be on all season. June 5th at the Diamondbacks, 2 for 2, a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. June 7th at the Rangers, 3 for 5, a run. June 8th at the Rangers, 2 for 4, a homer, 3 RBIs. And June 9th at the Rangers, 0 for 4. June 10th versus Houston, 1 for 4 in that one. So Ramos, he's playing good baseball, no doubt about it. One of the hottest hitters in fantasy baseball. We don't know how long it's going to be for Ramos, and especially like we saw with his teammate Matos, and then get sent down to the minor leagues 2 weeks later after having 21 RBIs and only a small sample size of a couple weeks. So that's a few hitters I look to sell and trade here for week 11 of the fantasy baseball season.